What's going on for you? How could I help?
So I think my main question is I have all these resources and I'm a teacher, so I've basically been able to kind of break down the test and everything. But I noticed there was a comment I think that you made that there's a big difference between how you prepare for a 160, for a 170, and for a 150. I think I'd like to just draw up a plan so where I know how, like with objective that I could maybe reach every week or every other week that could get me maybe to that 160 plus range and if possible higher.
Yeah, sure. I think that comment I made really comes down to the depth with which you look to understand this exam. 160s, I think, comes down to properly knowing how to apply the strategies. 170s involves knowing why the strategies work and getting to understand the exam on a deeper level, to see the exam from the test maker's perspective. And then 150s, because I guess I left that out, that really just means you have a basic proficiency, but maybe aren't applying all the strategies that consistently. And I have said plenty on LSAT study plans involving building a foundation, doing timed sections, doing timed exams. So I don't want to rehash all of that with you now because you can just watch the videos or get my study plan. I really would love to know what particular challenges you're facing and how I could address those particularly.
I'm about to start. So I took the test a couple years ago and I scored a 150, actually 150 flat. And I'm barely starting again. I'm a teacher, so I'm doing summer school right now. This is my last week. And I wanted to spend the whole month of July and August just studying for this test. And I think, like I said, my main concern was, is there maybe a specific way that I could break this test down? Maybe start with logic games, start with logical reasoning, maybe do strategies and then do a test or...
Yeah, I think you've got the basic idea. My study plans go into this much more, but the idea is you do untimed work to build the foundation first, doing questions by type of a game type, like ordering, grouping, combinations. Then you pull it all together, doing individual timed sections to work on pacing. And then finally, full-length timed exams.
Yeah. Okay. So from the score, from what I am at, to get into that 160 plus range, is it doable in 2 months?
It's tough. I mean, I can't give a one-size-fits-all answer on that sort of thing. But if your schedule is going to be freeing up soon, then you'll have the opportunity to give it your all, and you'll be maximizing your odds of that. And so I would say get the previous exams, get the resources that you think could help you. As I mentioned, I have study plans. I also have courses that include live online master classes and group coaching and Q&As and student-led study groups and on-demand videos. So I've put together a ton that can help you get there. And if you're studying full-time and your schedule is pretty free, you'll have the chance to make the most of that.
Got it. Okay, so then I guess I'm just taking notes right here. So my next step is going to be go ahead and look at your study videos, and these are on YouTube, right?
Well, there's a couple of things I have. I mean, I have the LSAT Unplugged YouTube channel and podcast and Facebook group and Instagram, and I'm putting material on all of those platforms at least once a day, if not multiple times a day, and that's all free. I also have detailed day-by-day study plans. They're written, laying out exactly what to be doing every single day over the course of your prep. So that'll involve which articles on my site to read. It'll include, if you're in the course, which course lesson videos to watch, and then which specific LSAT problems to complete. And you can get a study plan separately, but I also include them within the course. And the course includes, like I said, live group coaching sessions twice per month. It includes live masterclasses and Q&As. I commit to doing 2 to 4 a month, but I'm actually doing more due to COVID. People have the time, people are showing up, and I want to support them. And then you also have on-demand video lessons covering the foundation of the exam, as well as recordings of all the previous classes. And so I'm presenting that to you simply as an option because I think that you will have the time to make the most of that if you decide that it's right for you. If not, at least get the study plan because it'll remove a lot of the guesswork regarding what to do. It's too easy to get a bunch of exams and then just say, okay, I'll work through them chronologically. But if you're not building the foundation first, you're actually just wasting your time and burning through valuable material.
Okay, so glad I was on the same page there. Last but not least, so I've been looking at the LSAT Flex. I've been reading a lot about it online, saying how it doesn't count towards the 7 that seven tests that you can only take in your lifetime. Do you recommend me studying the whole month of July? And even if I'm not ready, taking the LSAT Flex in August, the first week of August, just so that I can have a score that maybe I might, if I feel comfortable enough that there's a possibility of me hitting a 160, take it? Or would you recommend that I wait that second month, study for 2 months straight, and then take it towards the end of August? Because I have about a good 6 months. I'm planning to take the test no more than late November. And worst case scenario, I wait a little bit longer and I apply for the next cycle. So I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a rush, but I'm thinking whether if I take it, if I get a low score and then I have to send my application and they see he got a 158, but then he got a 163 over here. Which one do we look at the 163? But so would it look bad on me if I take an LSAT Flex and don't do too good in it?
It won't look bad. It's not a huge deal. Law schools do count the highest. They don't really penalize you for having a lower score first or even second or even third. Whatever you took, they take the highest, at least in the US. Now, you have a couple options to take the LSAT. You have are you registered for the July LSAT Flex, July 12th, 13th?
No.
Okay. So then your earliest chance right now is the August 29th LSAT, which will likely be scheduled as an LSAT Flex, I'm guessing, at the moment, just because I don't think COVID's going away anytime soon. It may go out for a little bit, but then it'll come back. There could be a second wave. But I think that something as non-essential as offering the LSAT in person is not going to happen. I think it'll just be too difficult. So I do think August will be a flex. LSAC has not yet decided on that, though. If you feel like you're not likely to get your goal score by August 29th, then I would not take that exam. I would postpone and go for the October 3rd LSAT instead. If there is some chance, or at least you've gotten a handful of practice test scores that are at your goal, and if your goal is 160 or above, then around there, then go ahead and take it. There's not a huge downside, but I wouldn't have takes on your record if you can avoid them, if you don't think they're that likely to be where you want to be.
Okay. So unless I start seeing in my practice test that I'm close to my goal, or maybe even surpassing it by a little bit higher, just postpone to October and wait until I get the score that I really want.
Yeah. So if you're not feeling like you're where you want to be, then I would just go for October. I wouldn't take August just for the sake of taking August or just because you're registered for it. There's no reason to have a low take on your record if you can avoid it, even though you won't really be penalized, and also consider there is that retake limit as well.
Yeah. Also, since they went from 4 sections to 3 sections, I know the logical reasoning lost the percentage points, so now they're all pretty much weighted equally. Do you recommend that I do logical reasoning then logic games, just because I feel like whatever I learn through logical reasoning, I might help me through the logic games, and then leave reading comprehension for the very end?
You're going to cover everything anyway, so the exact order doesn't really matter. I typically recommend starting with games first because it typically is the most daunting, but it is the most learnable. But if you want to start with reasoning, then go to games, that's perfectly fine too. It ultimately doesn't matter. But I think games, since they seem the scariest for most people, and they're the lowest hanging fruit, to get that out of the way and realize you can actually do really well on that and improve significantly, that gives you a good morale boost. And you'll get to logical reasoning either way.
Got it.
And that's how my study plans are oriented, by the way. They go games, reasoning, reading, comp, with a general focus on each in that order.
Got it. Last question. Do you have any tips on things that I could maybe do outside that could also help me with what I'm doing for my LSAT? Maybe it's something like I read somewhere that Sudoku kind of helps your mind a little bit, because since the logic games does have positionings and stuff like that. So I've been playing Sudoku every now and then on my phone now, just to help me out. But are there any other tips that you have that maybe a certain type of book or that I could read? So if I'm not studying and I'm reading a book, I can at least be doing something that's also helping me towards my goal.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, Sudoku definitely has some relation to logic games. For reading, if you want, like the Scientific American and The Economist are both good publications that people often recommend and find helpful. I wouldn't consider it actually LSAT studying, but if you have some downtime or you have a commute or you wanted just something lighter to be doing or to be reading, that could be nice. But of course, there's nothing like actual LSAT passages, and you could you could read those and act like they're fun and act like they're interesting and try to get something out of those. That wouldn't be a terrible idea. If you can find some passages on topics that you like, then that'll be at least a little bit better. And if you don't like it, then you'll get more out of it too. So either way, the passages are really the best material to be reading. You could photocopy or print out a bunch of them and just do those.
Okay. And you said The Economist, and what was the other one?
Scientific American. Another good one is Arts and Letters Daily at aldaily.com. They link a bunch of different random articles that are usually pretty dense text on all different topics. And so you could see what interests you or see what doesn't, and then read it either way and see if you can get what's the main point. I mean, you can go however deep you want in terms of drilling on that sort of thing versus simply reading it. But if you can read it and then test yourself a little bit to see if you really understood what they were talking about, that's not a bad thing to be doing. But there's no substitute for the actual LSAT material.
Got it. So I have Sudoku, I have The Economist, Scientific American, and any suggestion that maybe I could do for logical reasoning?
Logical reasoning, there is none really. The logical reasoning, I think, is fairly unique. The only thing I would suggest that's outside of the LSAT that relates to it that I can think of is GMAT critical reasoning. So GMAT critical reasoning is like an easier version of LSAT logical reasoning. It's significantly easier, but so that's a way to do something without burning through LSAT material itself. But with nearly 100 LSAT exams, there's not really a need to go beyond that. So I'm not suggesting yet you do GMAT stuff, especially if you're aiming to take the LSAT this year. I'm just mentioning it in direct response to your question. But with so many exams, there's nothing like sticking with the actual exams. And I wouldn't want you doing other stuff at the expense of ever getting to official LSAT content. I think the best place to get them is through LSAC directly on LawHub, lawhub.lsac.org. You can get most of the exams in the digital LSAT format, which is actually the same as the LSAT Flex format. It's a subscription from LSAC directly for $99 a year.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so lawhub.lsac.org.
Yeah, and it's just inside your lsac.org account. You log in and you can get those. And that's the best way to practice.
Got it. Yeah, because I've got the Power Score Bibles, and I also have some other material, a couple of tests, old tests, but I just didn't know, like, oh, is there a certain book that I can buy that has all these stuff? But okay, this will definitely help me out, especially if it's 100. All right, well, that was it for me, Steve. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome, Renee. My pleasure. Keep in touch. Let me know if you need anything going forward.
You got it. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye. Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.